1989, Russian scientists in Siberia drilled a borehole about 14.5 kilometers deep into the Earth's crust. The drill broke through into a cavity, and the scientists lowered some equipment to see what was down there. The temperature was about 1,100 degrees Celsius, or about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but the real shocker was the sound that was recorded. They only got about 17 seconds of audio before the microphone melted, but it was 17 horrifying seconds of the screams of the damned. Convinced that they'd heard the sounds of hell, many of the scientists quit the job site immediately. Those who stayed were in for an even bigger shock later that night. A plume of luminous gas burst out of the borehole, the shape of a gigantic winged demon unfolded, and the words, "I have conquered," in Russian were seared into the flames. As a final touch of weirdness, medics were reported to have given everyone on site a dose of a sedative to erase their short-term memory. If you fell down the hole, it would take around 3.5 to 4 minutes to reach the bottom. Sounds like a science fiction movie, right? Well, this actually happened. This was known as the Well to Hell. In the aftermath of World War II, the geopolitical landscape witnessed a strategic maneuvering that went beyond the conventional acquisition of material resources. The fervent pursuit of Nazi scientific expertise became a crucial dimension in the post-war power struggle. Operation Paperclip, spearheaded by the United States, and Operation Osoaviakhim, operated by the Soviet Union, marked seminal chapters in this clandestine pursuit. Operation Paperclip stands out as a covert initiative by the United States, aiming to capitalize on the scientific acumen of former Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians. This operation, initiated in 1945 and officially sanctioned in 1947, brought approximately 1,600 German scientists to the U.S. Their expertise ranged from aerospace engineering to rocket technology, laying the foundation for advancements in the American space program. One prominent example of Operation Paperclip's impact is Wernher von Braun, a renowned German engineer integral to the development of the V-2 rocket during the war. Emigrating to the U.S. through Operation Paperclip, von Braun became instrumental in NASA's Apollo program, ultimately contributing to the United States' historic moon landing in 1969. Simultaneously, the Soviet Union executed Operation Osoaviakhim, a parallel effort to harness the intellectual capital of former Nazi scientists. Over 2,500 minds were recruited, forming a formidable cadre of scientific expertise. This influx catalyzed the Soviet Union's scientific prowess and ignited a Cold War-era rivalry that extended beyond military and political domains, but into the realms of space exploration and technological innovation. As these scientists transitioned from wartime adversaries to Cold War allies, their contributions became integral to the technological arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. Documents from this era, declassified over time, reveal the meticulous planning and coordination involved in recruiting these scientists. As the Cold War unfolded, scientific endeavors reached unprecedented depths, both figuratively and literally. There became a whole new race. Both nations needed near-infinite energy supplies to sustain themselves and their societies. This kicked off a competition for oil reserves and fuel sources. Soviet Russia, in its search for ever greater power, decided to tap into unused lands, hoping to find more natural deposits of oil that they could bring to the surface. The Soviets went to extreme lengths to dig as deep as possible for new reservoirs of crude oil. Initiated by the United States in 1961, and the Kola Superdeep Borehole, a Soviet initiative, became emblematic of this race to explore the Earth's subterranean mysteries. In the year 1961, a time when the United States, propelled by Cold War ambitions, launched Project Mohol, a bold attempt to drill through the Earth's crust. The chosen location was the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Mexico, with the lofty goal of unraveling the secrets hidden beneath the ocean floor. This visionary project aimed to delve into the Earth's depths for scientific enlightenment. However, despite its grand aspirations, Project Mohol faced insurmountable challenges. Drilling through the Earth's crust is a complex task, and at the time, the technology and drilling techniques were not advanced enough to penetrate the required depths. The extreme pressure and temperatures at such depths posed significant engineering challenges. Mismanagement and persistent funding issues plagued the project. The project was expensive, and securing sufficient funding became a major challenge. As costs escalated and the technical difficulties became more apparent, support for the project waned, stifling its progress and thwarting the scientific exploration it aspired to achieve. The American endeavor, despite its lofty goals, struggled to materialize its objectives, leaving the quest for subterranean knowledge in a state of uncertainty. Well, so they thought. On the opposing front of the Cold War, the Soviet Union displayed strategic brilliance by focusing on the Kola Peninsula. This strategic choice laid the groundwork for the Kola Superdeep Borehole. The mission? To plunge deeper into the Earth's crust than ever before, scratching the surface of the planet's mysteries. The primary objective was to gain insights into the Earth's composition and structure. Scientists hoped that by delving deeper, they could unlock clues about the planet's geological history, seismic activity, and even the potential for discovering new life forms in extreme conditions. The Kola Superdeep Borehole was not a quest for the supernatural. It was a quest for knowledge grounded in the principles of geology and earth sciences. Unlike its American counterpart, the Soviet initiative showcased a more streamlined approach, overcoming the pitfalls of mismanagement and securing sustained funding. But what happened next left a permanent mark on everyone. In the year 1989, the heart of Siberia became the backdrop for an unprecedented scientific expedition. Dr. Dmitry Osakov, leading a covert drilling project, reached a critical juncture at 14.4 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface. What unfolded in the Siberian depths would defy scientific norms and plunge the team into a realm where reality and the supernatural collided. The team managed to drill 14.5 kilometers or 9 miles beneath the Earth's surface, piercing our planet's crust and breaching some kind of cavity. To investigate further, Soviet scientists lowered testing equipment into the abyss. Their equipment reportedly discovered that the temperature inside the cavity was an astounding 1100 degrees centigrade or about 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. The scientists called it an inferno of fire, but what they were able to record with their instrument's microphone attachment was an even greater shock. The microphone was only able to survive the tremendous heat for about 25 seconds before melting, but in that time, it managed to capture something that baffled and disturbed the scientists: the sound of screaming. The scientists and engineers on location reported what sounded like hundreds, maybe thousands of people yelling in agony. It seemed impossible, but those who heard the terrible screams believed that they had drilled all the way to the subterranean underworld of hell itself. Many of the staff quit right on the spot, so shaken by the thought that they'd heard the wailing of suffering sinners and their demonic tormentors. Those who remained attempted to come up with a scientific explanation for what they had recorded, but they were not prepared to explain what happened next. The following night, a massive plume of fire and smoke exited the borehole. When it surfaced, workers claimed it took the form of a bat or a demon before them and etched into the sky the words, "I have conquered." Medical personnel was dispatched to the site following the word of the incident, treating the shell-shocked staff with sedatives, painkillers, and other medication that is said to have erased their short-term memory of that horrific night. In the aftermath of the unearthly encounter, the expedition faced an intervention from unidentifiable authorities, widely speculated to be agents of the KGB. Their directive was clear: erase the traumatic memories of the remaining scientists. Medical staff were tasked with administering sedatives, plunging the researchers into a state of forgetfulness. The clandestine involvement of the KGB hinted at a narrative that surpassed the boundaries of conventional science, delving into a clandestine world where government agencies grappled with the inexplicable. Despite the alleged cover-up, stories of what happened at the drilling site spread, first through word of mouth to nearby areas like surrounding villages and towns, but soon the events that took place at the drill site were broadcast far and wide via true believers. The story was first widely publicized through the Trinity Broadcasting Network, a Southern California Christian media group. In late 1989, the story ran with the headline, "Scientists Discover Hell," in Trinity newspaper and TV broadcasts. Other Christian-aligned news outlets picked up the story, lending it credence and giving it a foothold on burgeoning internet websites. Their sources were allegedly routed in a Finnish newspaper and a Texan minister named R.W. Schambach, who claimed to have been sent evidence of the Soviet breach into the underworld. The specific incident of the demon emerging from the borehole came from a translated Norwegian newspaper sent to the Trinity Broadcasting Network. The story gained momentum online, mostly from Christian sites in general, weird stories to be spread around. Despite all the supposed evidence, there were several discrepancies and a lack of concrete sources that prevented anything from being definitely proven. Not long after the story was first officially broken by the Trinity Broadcasting Network, the story was debunked by other Christian publications. Christianity Today and Biblical Archaeology Review both discredited the well-to-hell story based on the lack of verifiable origins, evidence, and witnesses. There's also no evidence of the Soviet Union ever drilling for oil to such an extent in Siberia. The closest verifiable match to the story came from the Kola Peninsula in northwestern Russia, the site where the Kola Superdeep Borehole was dug. This particular borehole is about the same drill depth as the alleged Siberian site, but never had any incident of supernatural origin. And in an August 1989 edition of Science magazine, there was an article titled "European Deep Drilling Leaves Americans Behind" that described Soviet Union borehole attempts. This could be the origin of the well-to-hell story, with the fantastical twist of discovering an underground portal to hell itself. There's also the matter of the recording of the screams of tormented souls and their demon overseers. If the temperatures claimed in the story were remotely accurate, there would be no way of documenting it like that. No recording equipment at that time could have possibly withstood those absurd temperatures, even for several seconds. On top of that, the actual recording of the alleged screaming wasn't found until years later. For a while, the lack of concrete evidence relegated the well-to-hell story to rumor and the occasional appearance in tabloid magazines. But in 2002, Coast to Coast AM, a conspiracy-themed radio talk show hosted by Art Bell, gave the story new life when a caller claimed to have found and saved the actual audio recording from the Siberian borehole. He emailed it to the show with this message explaining how he had acquired it.
I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper's fabricated account. The story about the digging, the hearing of the sounds from hell, is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos on the paranormal and supernatural. He passed away fairly recently. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. Attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes.
After Art Bell played the found recording on his show, the Well to Hell story spread like wildfire across the internet all over again. Like so many urban legends, all it took was a retelling to find an entirely new generation of listeners to give it life. This evidence, like so many pieces of the tale, was put into doubt though. Skeptics didn't think the recording Bell had played could be authentic. Some sleuths researching the audio believed that the screaming and tormented cries might have been lifted from the 1972 Italian horror movie Barren Blood, directed by Mario Bava, a gothic horror film with satanic themes, fittingly enough. Though the miraculous Well to Hell might be a hoax, the actual borehole drill site in the Kola Peninsula did manage to make all manner of scientific discoveries. Drillers managed to drill 7.5 miles deep into the earth, and to this day, it's the deepest man-made hole on the planet. The scientific team also discovered numerous fossils dating back billions of years that somehow managed to be well preserved despite existing temperatures up to 356 degrees Fahrenheit. The team also discovered water at the 7-mile mark, and in the process, numerous advances in drilling technology were discovered. While it's most likely that the Well to Hell story is just a story, it's certainly an entertaining one. Its longevity is a testament to how urban legends can take root, persist, evolve, and stick with us over the course of decades. So what do you think? Did the quest for oil lead the Soviets to drill a well to the gates of hell?